The reason why the mammogram is the golden standard in the Western world is they're scared of change. They don't pay for ultrasound unless there's an abnormal finding. 3,100 women die every single month. The mammogram missed their cancer and detected it when it's too late. So the mammogram detects the cancer when it's at least 1 centimeter, which is huge to me. That means you have to do chemotherapy, you have to do radiation, you have to get a mastectomy, lumpectomy, and all of the aggressive treatment. And I feel like in America, a lot of these institutions run on sick people, and I'm a threat to them. They see me, they see my machine, and they're like, oh my God, you can detect cancer that small in women with dense breast tissue and implants. If my machine was there in the hospitals, in the institutions, and every single imaging center, the cancer rate would go down. That's why I always tell women, you have to be in charge of your breast. You have to be the CEO of your health. If you have dense breast tissue, if you have implants, SonoCine is an amazing tool to just get a baseline because there's no radiation.
You're listening to Cleanse, Heal, Ignite podcast, and I'm your hostess, Diane Kaiser, functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner, former pro soccer player, transformational leader, holistic healer, and life purpose coach, helping you and your business awaken to your full potential. We are a transformation tribe of visionaries empowering passion-quenching, heart-centered advice to wellness warrior leaders on self-love, nutrition, mindset, and divorcing perfectionism. Our mission is to help you laugh your way to a sexy belly, love your way to vitality, and live your life with purpose by sharing real talk and truth drops that will help you cleanse your body, heal your hormones, and ignite your life. Side effects of this podcast may include all-day energy, happy hormones, perfect poops, increased confidence, becoming your own best healer, and catching the self-love virus. There's currently no vaccination to protect you from this and no known cure. In most cases, listeners experience a strong desire to accept new challenges, ditch toxic people, follow their heart, and dance like no one's watching. If you experience moods happier than usual, live it unapologetically and share with your social media friends immediately.
Wow, this is an amazing show coming up for you guys. I just finished recording this episode with Jasmine, and we're going to talk today about breast tissue. We're going to talk about breast screening. We're going to talk about the difference between mammograms, thermograms, ultrasounds, MRIs, and the newest technology, SonoCine, which is spelled SonoCine. So I have show notes that you guys can read and a lot of the links and studies that she referred to. But the reason why I brought her on the show, and I wanted to share this first, is because mammograms are the gold standard for detection of breast health, or as I would say, for detection of cancer, but not necessarily breast health. They're looking for, do you already have something? They're not looking for things that are more of a preventative or proactive. They can also see if you do have leakages or ruptures in your breast implants, but it's very difficult to even detect that and is not considered reliable. It is actually causing more damage. So I've heard this from a few different doctors that I've interviewed on the show before and on my summits. Mammograms cause DNA damage, and low dose radiation can actually cause breast cancer. And a Canadian study done on 90,000 women done over 25 years indicated that mammography didn't reduce breast cancer mortality rate, not even by 1%. And that came from one of my friends, Dr. Veronique Desagnier, and she is someone who I interviewed for my Non-Toxic Beauty Summit on the detection of breast cancer. She is the breast cancer conqueror. And she also let me know too that only 5% of breast cancer, I'm gonna start that one over. She also informed me that only 5% of breast cancers are related to BRCA gene mutation. The other 95% are related to diet and lifestyle, which is what I brought on Jasmine today to talk about on this show. We talk about the cancer screening, the newest way to examine your breast tissues, and what to do so that it doesn't get to that point where you see things that are things that make you afraid, like fibrocystic breast. We talk about dense tissue. We talk about doing scanning so that if you do see even small cancers, you can do something about it that don't involve radiation, because that actually can be even more detrimental to your body. So what I'm also finding, what I've heard in a previous episode that I interviewed Dr. Felice Gersh, is that for every woman, the harm of mammograms always outweighs the benefit, is the consensus among most doctors today who've researched them, especially when considering advancements in technology today, like the SonoCine, both with labs and screenings. So mammograms cause a lot of problems, the compression, the radiation, and studies have shown that they can increase your risk of cancer And the new study that came out in Canada, the one I was just mentioning, they found that mammograms did not decrease breast mortality risk at all. In fact, they were just as effective as a breast exam that women would do on themselves. So we are at a turning point here with breast health, breast screening, breast lifestyle, preventative, and also considering breast implants in this entire picture. So without further ado, I welcome you guys to one of the most important podcasts that I have done on breast health to help you improve your cleanse, heal, ignite journey, and also be the best doctor, healer, scanner, lover, and friend for your body so that you can learn to listen to it, what it's trying to say, so that you can be compassionate with the things that you do for it instead of things against it. Without further ado, let's get into the show. Hey, what's going on, beauty warriors? Diane Khordandi here. Welcome to another episode of Cleanse, Heal, Ignite podcast. And today we're going to talk about, yet again, my favorite topic, boobs. And hopefully not killer breasts, like the name of my book, which just launched last month at the time of recording this. And we are actually one day, currently at the time of recording this, away from Independence Day. So my goal with this episode is to help you uncover and discover more ways to be independent from a system that may actually create codependence and actually may create more harm, and doing some of the diagnostic tools to explore the health of your breasts, which are in your tissues. So today I brought on oh my gosh, Jasmine. I brought on Jasmine today. I put on my Jasmine essential oils. I just realized that this morning.
Oh my God. Smells really good.
Oh, I love Jasmine. That's so funny. I was just thinking about that. I'm like, I smell like something that reminds me of you. And I put on my roller ball of jasmine, which is one of my favorite flowers. So beautiful name, beautiful lady, beautiful topic. Welcome to the show, Jasmine.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. This is such an important topic. And Jasmine, too, has a love for breasts, which is why I brought her on today. Today, we're going to talk about a diagnostic scanning tool that helps to explore and detect cancer, breast cancer, or any kind of dense tissues, or anything that could help you, not alarm, but alert you to. Do you feel the difference there? It's more of an awareness tool than an alarm and alert. And I think there's a huge difference with mammograms, thermograms, MRIs, ultrasounds, and now a very advanced new way to explore the health of your breast, which is called SonoCine. So I'm really excited to talk about this today. Jasmine, let's just get right into it. You are doing these diagnostic tools for women and breasts in Los Angeles right now. So how did you get into doing these kinds of diagnostic tools for women?
So around 6 years ago, I started working for a gynecologist, and she had this machine in her office, SonoCine automated whole breast ultrasound. And the actual doctor, Dr. Kelly, him and his whole like a bunch of techs, they all trained me on how to use this machine. And in the beginning, I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. It's so different. I was really excited to learn the machine. And once I learned the machine and how to use it, I saw it's making a huge difference for women with dense breast tissue, for women with implants, because what's going on is the mammogram is missing around 50% of breast cancers if you have dense breast tissue or implants. So what SonoCine does is it records 3,000 images starting from your lymph nodes right here where you put on deodorant, and it scans automatically all the way to your chest wall, like right in between your breasts. So I'm able to even see a piece of your heart. And then all of the images turn into a 3D movie. So I'm able to detect breast cancer as small as 2 millimeters. That is the earliest detection. And when I do detect it at small, which happens all the time, we don't want women to do any aggressive treatment. Like we want to stay away from radiation. We want to stay away from chemotherapy because that's going to ruin your immune system. So we literally refer them to a surgeon, and they just take that cancer out.
They take the smaller cancer out. Now, is that the cancer? Would that also be considered like a stage 0 cancer? Because I know that there's early detection too.
Right. Yes. Sometimes it's stage 0. Sometimes it's stage 1. Sometimes it's stage 2. I'm able to see the lymph nodes. So right away, I can detect if the cancer has spread to the lymph nodes.
Can you see other things in the SonoCine as well?
Absolutely. I can detect implant ruptures. I can detect capsular contractures if there's scar tissues, seromas. Anything that's abnormal with the with the implant, I can detect right away. I can detect tumors that are behind the implant that the typical mammogram misses by 50%. It can't see any cancer behind the implant. There's an obscuring effect. So with SonoCine, I can detect, the capsule, what's going on. A lot of time, women don't change their implants for over 10 to 15 years. And there's a lot of scar tissue that builds around the implant. And that's your immune system fighting your implant. It knows there's a foreign agent in your body. So what it does is it builds a lot of scar tissue. And that's why a lot of women have a lot of hardening around their breasts. And I can detect that as well.
Wow. If I would have known about you a long time ago, I probably could have saved myself a lot of time and misery with all the symptoms that I was experiencing. And that's, most women and people in general know of my journey. And if you haven't, you guys can go back and listen to previous episodes where I talk about my journey of breast implant illness, why I wrote my book, why I work with women from the explant journey and beyond, and just focus on breast health, because it's such a missed thing. That the reason I brought Jasmine on today is because many of the diagnostic tools today can only detect things once they have spread to large proportions, versus exploring if something is on its way to turning into a more disastrous, maybe stage 4, stage 5. So right. I want to talk about that today. One of the things in an article that I wrote last year, 33 Reasons Not to Get Breast Implants That Your Doctor Didn't Warn You About, which is in my book, as well as many other things. So you guys check that out, killerbreastbook.com. But that article specifically, you can share it to my website, dianecage.com. And one of the things that I discovered in my research is that, you said 50%, and it's very similar with women who have breast implants. So they go in there, they get a mammogram because, and this is the thing that's hard, Jasmine, and I hear people's skeptical minds, I hear people's programmed minds, because we've all heard this. It's responsible of you, any woman, to go get a breast screening every year, and we're going to talk about that later too. But mammograms do come with risks. Yes. And they come also with limitations. So it's like, yes. Well, this is like the gold standard. So why right. isn't SonoCine talked about more often? Like, what I'd like to talk about the downfalls of mammograms, other than just that it's not as accurate in detecting some right. problems and issues in our tissues.
Right. So first off, if you have implants, the mammogram has a high risk of rupturing your implant. And I see that a couple times a month because it squeezes it so hard, basically puts your breast in between a pancake smasher. So it could rupture your implants. And B, if you do have a tumor, it can squeeze the tumor so hard that the cancer spread everywhere. So that is something that happens all the time. If you do have a mass and you get the mammogram done, it could just puncture it. And that is really scary. And the reason why the mammogram is the golden standard in the Western world is because they're scared of change. And they don't pay for ultrasound unless there's an abnormal finding. 3,100 women die every single month because the mammogram missed their cancer and detected it when it's too late. So the mammogram detects the cancer when it's at least 1 centimeter, which is huge to me. That means you have to do chemotherapy, you have to do radiation, you have to get a mastectomy, lumpectomy, and all of the aggressive treatment. And I feel like in America, a lot of these institutions run on sick people. And I'm a threat to them. They see me, they see my machine, and they're like, oh my God, you can detect cancer that small in women with dense breast tissue and implants. So it's a gray area. I come in and, if my machine was every single where in the hospitals, in the institutions, and every single imaging center, the cancer rate would go down. And all of these surgeries that would go down. So it's, that's why I always tell women, you have to be in charge of your breast. You have to be the CEO of your health. If you have dense breast tissue, if you have implants, even if you don't have either of those, SonoCine is an amazing tool to just get a baseline because there's no radiation. You don't want to radiate your breast every year or a couple times a year because that can cause cancer. And B, you're going to get a happy gram from your mammogram results. It's going to say everything is normal, but you have dense breast tissue. You circle that dense breast tissue and say, holy moly, my cancer, there could be a cancer, there could be a cyst, something that's benign. It could be missed by 50%. And no one is talking about what dense breast tissue even is.
that speaking of that, the radiation you just mentioned.
Right.
So this is a very controversial topic too. And
Right.
one that I just want to say this is that there's a lot of people who really want to trust that just because the bigger institutions are saying it, or they pedestalize their physician, or the science or the research, I want you just to stop for a moment and just consider that not everything that you're being told is accurate. And as someone who has experienced this and researched this myself, women with breast implants, they have found this, birth control, many things, that in the findings that there was a lot of women who were having a lot of side effects from things like breast implants or birth control. But what were they doing? They were trashing the findings. They were burning the research. They were, and the women, the research meaning the side effects that these women were experiencing. Right. And so what they're doing is they're manipulating and maneuvering data to make it appear as though there are no issues. And so the one that I have a problem with mammography is the level of radiation. And they're not talking about this as a potential side effect. They're looking at the current screening, but don't consider down the road how all of these toxic exposures and frequencies, radiation, are cumulative. So can we talk about that? I don't know how much you can go into it, but mammography, right. a lot of practitioners, and I also did an interview with Dr. Felicia Gersh, MD, on my podcast. You guys can go listen to what she said about this. But she is an OBGYN, and she talks very poorly about mammography for screening, and also that it's actually more harmful to the body. Dr. Veronique de Saunier, she's also the breast cancer conqueror. These women are leading researchers, doctors, clinical researchers on this topic. So can you go into the machinery and the radiation that we're exposed to and mammography, and then circle that back to the difference between that and what SonoCine offers?
Sure. So so imagine I have a patient who's like BRCA1, BRCA2 positive. That means she's susceptible to getting breast cancer. If she does the mammogram every single year, that will turn on the cancer cells. Basically, you're putting radiation straight into your breast tissue, which is so close to your heart. These are such beautiful, breasts are the most beautiful thing of our body. And if you're going to get your mammogram done every single year and put radiation into your body, you will turn on the cancer cells. And I'm not saying, I'm not against the mammogram. I'm not sitting here saying, oh my God, don't do it. It has its perks. But as a woman, as, empowered woman, we need to educate ourselves and know that radiation is bad for us. And there is safer procedures that A, will detect the cancer, B, has no radiation, and C, won't affect your body. A lot of people have autoimmune diseases. A lot of people have Crohn's. I have patients that have a lot of sicknesses. And if they go in for their mammogram every single year, it could affect other parts of their bodies. So, a lot of women are waking up, they're doing their research, they're reading, and they're waking up and saying, you know what, Jasmine, I don't want to radiate my breast every single year. I want to see you every year, and maybe I'll do the mammogram once every 2 years. A lot of gynecologists that I work with are saying, Jasmine, the mammogram is every 2 years. I don't want my patients to go through that every year.
Mm-hmm. Do you have, when you say the difference between the two, is there any radiation that they're exposed to? Is it like
zero?
Zero radiation.
Zero radiation. This is the same exact probe that I use to scan babies. Wow. It's just sound waves. There is zero radiation. I would never expose myself to radiation.
Yeah, me too.
I'm in a room for 12 hours a day, and I wouldn't feel comfortable, being exposed to that. And the difference is, I want women to know what dense breast tissue is. That's something that's really important, because a lot of women don't know. So dense breast tissue means that we have more connective tissue in our breast compared to fat. So under a mammogram, connective tissue is white. So imagine like a white piece of paper, just like this. This is what dense breast tissue looks like under a mammogram. breast cancer is also white. Okay. So it's basically looking at a snowball in the snow, white on white. You cannot see the cancer. I have pulled up hundreds of scans of mammograms, and we've compared it with the SonoCine machine. I have so many cases. You cannot see the cancer. And the radiologists are not recommending ultrasounds. And that's how I got into this as well. My best friend's mom died because the mammogram missed it for 6 years. And I went to the radiologist and said, well, insurance doesn't cover ultrasound, so we never referred it because patients don't want to pay for it. So they don't recommend it because there's no finding. You cannot recommend an ultrasound if there is like no finding. You know what I mean? If your results are normal, but you can't even see the cancer. So that's the scary part, is people are getting these happy grams. I mean, my grandma will call me like, oh my God, my mammogram is normal, but I have dense breast tissue. And I said, well, that doesn't mean it's normal. You need to do the further testing. You have to have an ultrasound. And there is good radiologists that I work with, and they know this and they care about their patients, you know, so they will, you know, do the ultrasound in the room. They'll be like, she has such dense breast tissue that I have to do the ultrasound. But most of them don't do it because of insurance problems. They won't pay for it.
Yeah, I think I say this often, we really need to get out of the mindset that if it's not covered by insurance, we shouldn't have to pay for it, because that is actually, you know, it's kind of a victim mindset that, and it's just, unfortunately, it's just the way that it is. We've been programmed that our if it's medical, insurance should cover it. If it's outside of insurance, then we shouldn't have to pay for it. But the thing is if we don't pay for it now, we're going to pay for it later. And
chemotherapy is over $100,000.
Even if you have insurance, right?
Even if you have insurance. And the cool thing about SonoCine is insurance does cover 50% or more.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. So my patients, all of them get reimbursed 50% or more, as long as they don't have Medicare, Medi-Cal, or Kaiser. That's it.
Yeah, Kaiser. I used to have Kaiser. I was born in the Kaiser, but they're really controlling with the operations that
they're an institution. They don't want you to go anywhere else.
Yeah, exactly. And my ex-boyfriend was head of all of the diagnostic tools in the Bay Area. And when I was going through this whole thing, I was really bringing it to him. I'm like, you guys need to, I was taking a stand for women's boobies. And I was like, you guys need to have beyond mammograms, because, you know, you have to listen to the statistics. It is that this is something that actually I'll put in the show notes, but for every woman, the harm of mammograms always outweighs the benefit, is the consensus among most doctors today who have researched them, especially when considering advancements in technology today, both with labs and screenings. And this is my perspective from all of my research, the least toxic alternative and the most advanced diagnostic tool. I have not done one, full disclosure, myself, but based on the research, I have done MRIs, I have done ultrasounds, I have not done a mammogram ever, nor will I ever, but I have done a lot of different diagnostic tools. I didn't have leaking breast implants, but I did have a lot of lumps around my tissues, around my implants in my tissues. I want to move into this part because the thermogram that I did 2 years ago was what really set me off in this 3 years ago. When I saw the little cystic tissue, and my practitioner didn't find it, I did in the findings. And so it's also very important to have a good practitioner that knows what they're doing, right? That's so important. Not just the technology, but also the technician. And then the third thing was I did go and get the MRI and the ultrasound, and I had to push real hard, Jasmine, and everybody else out there, working with your insurance to get these diagnostic tools approved will cause you more stress than probably toxins themselves or the breast implants themselves. It was a nightmare. And I did this because I wanted to experience it so I can, you know, speak this out to everybody out there. It was a pain in the butt to get MRI approved. It was really hard to get ultrasound approved. And when I did, after the pony and dog show, I went in there, I had my MRI done. This is when I had breast implants. And what they said was the results were that you have very dense breast tissue. It was like stage 4. And I was like, oh, that sounds a little scary. What does that mean? They're like, oh, we don't have any recommendations for you.
I have your results right in front of me. I have your results right in front of me from your mammogram that you had done May 20th, 2020. And it says that dense breast tissue, and it's recommending you to get a 3D mammogram, more radiation.
Mm-hmm.
And once again, it cannot see through this tissue because if something was there, once again, it's white on white and it's missed by 50%.
Yeah.
Another thing that I wanted to bring up is the difference between, someone can tell you, oh, I've had an ultrasound. So a regular ultrasound machine, it's technician dependent. The tech takes 3 or 4 images and doesn't take images of the entire breast. They don't get the lymph nodes. They don't get the clavicle, which is right here. They don't get in between the breast. They take 3 or 4 images and miss a lot of cancers.
Wow.
So that's a regular ultrasound where SonoCine comes in and it's automated. It starts all the way up here in your clavicle where your bone is. And it automatically, it goes row by row by row, and there's no room for human error. Nothing can be missed.
Wow, that's really important.
It's so important.
No room for human error.
There is no room for human error. I used to train at Cedars, and I used to train the techs, and they didn't have SonoCine. And I told the radiologist, I said, these girls are just out of school. They don't have experience. They don't take enough frames. They take 4 pictures. They could take a picture here and the cancer is right here. They could take a picture here and the cancer is over here. So they miss so many cancers. They miss, even if it's not cancer, a cyst, a fibroadenoma, a leakage. They cannot take enough pictures, or they'll spend 8 hours taking images. And that's why Dr. Kelly created this machine, because he said it's like texting and driving. It's dangerous. You cannot let the technician hold the probe by herself, because the breast is like a clock. There's 12, 3, 6, 9. They don't know where they are. They don't know if they scan 2 or 6 or 8. With this machine, it's automated. So you know that you got a safe scan that recorded every inch of tissue.
Yeah.
So that's really important. Really important.
I love that this exactly echoes the way that I have seen real holistic medicine and holistic healing work. And it's that you guys are going with this scanning technology. You're going to not only the branches that show the symptoms, I refer to everything as a tree. Like the logo and the name of my company is called Chi, Cleanse, Heal, Ignite. And it's Chi Holistic Health Institute, and it's a tree. And so when we look in the roots, we can find the root causes for the reason why the branches are brittle, or why the leaves are not growing healthy, or why there's no blossoms or fruit this year. So you guys are going to the roots, which is all of the surrounding tissues, and covering the comprehensiveness of all the different veins and avenues that are contributing to and bringing blood and lymph tissue and fluid into the breast that would cause the breast cancer. You're looking at the roots. You're not just looking at the branches. You're not like, oh, look at this branch. It's got cancer. Let's cut it out. You can't do that. My friends, especially, you can't do that.
If you're doing this once a year, once a year, you want to know that you are safe for the year. You're not doing this every 3 or 6 months, like have women go for laser hair removal every couple of months. It's not. If you want to know that your results are safe, you got to do a study that's whole. You got to get the lymph nodes, the clavicle, in between the chest, under the chest. I mean, I even get the ribs. That's how deep I go.
Interesting, Jasmine. Okay. So you go into the ribs. Now, this is a question specifically for women who have breast implants or who have had breast implants. For me, my experience, and this is for many women who have had breast implants or have them now, our ribs are constantly pulled out of place. And what happens is the breast tissue and the capsule that grows around the breast, the breast implant, this tissue begins to move like a cancer, like move like a spider web. And it begins to create a scar tissue in between the ribs, and could also cause congestion. So have you seen that with anybody that has breast implants?
All the time.
What do you see? What does it look like, and what do you find in there? Is it dangerous, or is it the scar tissue?
I see a lot of scar tissue. I see a lot of inflammation. I mean, I have so many patients that are affected by BII. I mean, they've been sent to the Cancer Institute because they're lost all their hair. They lost 40 pounds and they're depressed. They can't talk anymore. They can't speak. They're so mentally like the brain fog that they can't even pick up their kids anymore.
Yes, I see this so much.
And they come to me and they're like, my internist thinks I have leukemia. These are the symptoms of leukemia. And they get sent to Cancer Institute. They get all this blood work done. And I mean, I had a 28-year-old patient that her internist thought she had leukemia. And when that happened, I was like, oh no, I know the type of implant you have BII. And I sent her to an amazing functional medicine doctor in Brentwood. And she Googled her implants and said, oh my God, these are the textured implants. You have BII. You need to remove these implants ASAP. You've been affected. You have toxic metals in your body and your immune system's depleted. So she removed them. And now she's doing IV therapy and, she's clearing out her gut, her immune system. She's on a very strict, clean diet. And after 2 months, she's feeling better.
Yeah.
She's feeling like herself again right away.
Yeah. Yeah. I like to say, instead of the word strict, I like to say the words, they're eating real food, as in
real food,
the kind of food that we used to eat from the soil, from Mother Nature before the 1950s, when all this became engineered in 1996, when things turned into the majority being Monsanto, GMO, inflammatory created. Yes. So that's, I don't like the word strict because people shy away from that. I like the word abundant and real food and holistic, so I think, and that's exactly the process that I went through in the program that I have for my clients and all the things I talk about in my book, Killer Breasts. So you mentioned something there, which really got to me. And that is that women are doing what they're told and they're being extremely injured and harmed. And the main reason for that is because of misdetection. Can we talk about the difference between the success rates at what mammograms will reveal versus thermograms versus SonoCine? Is there like a 5 times improved detection rate, or like what is the difference between those three? Because those are things that people are talking about all the time. Like, what is the difference between the three, the positive and the negatives?
Thermograms are not accepted anymore.
Accepted for what?
For breast screenings at all.
By who?
By gynecologists, by doctors.
They were once upon a time?
They used to be, not anymore. No gynecologist will accept a thermogram report anymore. It's missed way too many cancers. You cannot rely on heat to detect a cancer. It's great for inflammation in your body, but you cannot just do a thermogram. I have had over 6 patients who only did thermogram. It didn't even detect a cyst that I found, which is a common thing. Missed. It doesn't work. The thermogram, whoever created it, it's not working.
And isn't fibrocystic breasts, it's like 1 out of 3 women will struggle with it in some time in their life? Is that the statistic?
I would say, I think more
almost
than that.
Almost everyone
has fibrocystic breast tissue because it's caused by our hormones. Estrogen goes up, progesterone goes up, testosterone. So that causes our breast tissue to change.
Right.
So most women, until they're postmenopause, once you hit postmenopause, like later when you don't get your cycle anymore, then it'll get better. It won't be so fibrocystic,
Right. Less estrogen.
Less estrogen. Exactly. So yeah, the thermogram, you can definitely not rely on. I don't think women should even do thermograms for their breast. For other places of their body, yes, for sure, but not their breast.
Yeah.
And then the mammogram is good at one thing. It's really good at detecting calcifications, but ultrasound can detect calcifications too. We both can do it. But doctors are so stuck on that because it's good for calcifications, but SonoCine can detect it too. They just don't want to change anything, especially Western doctors, which I don't see any Western doctors unless, my leg is chopped off.
Nailed it.
You know what I mean? If I need to, something serious happens, then I will go to my Western doctor and say, I need help. And then what was the other thing you said? The
Yeah, it was
SonoCine?
mammogram, SonoCine, and thermogram, like what the difference is. And
Yeah.
I'm also wondering with mammogram and SonoCine,
Right.
because the main thing is people going and going, I'm afraid, do I have cancer? You know, they're in there, and it's been designed and programmed into us that it's
Right.
a fear-based tactic. Oh my God, I'm going to go in there and I hope I
Right.
don't have cancer. But I think we need to adjust our mindset to ask the question of, what can I do to have a former relationship with my breast, to know everything possible that I can know about it, so I can prevent breast cancer or prevent anything like fibrocystic breast or any other things that are going on with us. So is there any statistics on this just yet, Jasmine, on how much more SonoCine can detect in cancer before anything else? Just talk about cancer for now in between the two of them.
I think it's the statistics. I have a study. It's a European study. I think it's 7% more with dense breast tissue.
Okay. I'll make sure that's in the show notes.
Yeah. So I have a study from the European Journal. And one thing that you just said is it's a fear-based exam. And I totally get it, because a lot of these offices are sterile. They're white. Everything it's a scary vibe. Yeah. So, and I knew that because I went with my mom for her to get her mammogram, which she doesn't do anymore. She has SonoCine. So I created an amazing safe haven for women. You know, my lights are dim. I turn on a candle. I have spa music playing. I have beautiful artwork. I sage my room every morning. Aww. And it literally feels like you're getting a massage. If you call any of my patients, they will tell you they're excited to come see me because it is so zen. I play 528 hertz chakra music, which is good for your heart chakra. Oh my gosh,
Jasmine, that's amazing.
Yeah, and it opens up your heart chakra because your breasts are so close to your heart.
Yes.
And I think that's why people love coming, because it's a happy, safe environment. And like, I care so much. I get the results within 24 to 48 hours. If there is a finding, I will make the study stat, which means we'll get it in a couple of hours. I will call them right away, hook them up with a surgeon or a breast radiologist. I will guide them. They're not alone in this process. I will stay on the phone with them. I'll make them a follow-up appointment. I'll introduce them to someone if they need to do a biopsy, I'll connect them in an email. So it's a very seamless process where you're not alone. So people are not scared to come and see me. And that's why, you know, I feel like I feel so lucky to be a part of this and a part of women's health, because I care and they definitely feel that.
Yeah, there's a song that Vanilla Ice, to quote Vanilla Ice, if there is a problem, yo, I'll solve it.
Right.
That's you. And it's what my vision for the world of women's health is, that you all have a direct connection to the source, and you're not having to make literally this whole process of breast implant illness and explant was one of the most invasive, confusing, overwhelming, maddening procedures, because you get people on the phone and they're in different countries. You have to explain your story over and over. And when you get diagnostic tools, then it's like, well, oh my gosh, I have stage 4 cysts. And well, now what do I do? Well, we don't have a protocol for that. And okay, take your, you know, what do you call them? Scrubs off and you're gone. I'm like, well, this is kind of scary. What does this mean? What do I do? Where's it from? Who do I talk to? What can I do naturally? Well, there's nothing naturally, but we can, you know, like you said, take this to the next level and do, you know, more scans and screenings and come back to the sterile environment and leave more sick than I came. So it's overwhelming. And so I like to, it's kind of like us coming back to tribe, how things used to be as medicine women, where we supported each other and we held each other's hands and held each other's hearts until we felt safe again. I think that's a big part of the whole traumatic experience of this whole thing. It's from start to finish. And, oh God, hold my breath. Did you find anything? How long does it take to get your screening results back from mammograms anyway? Do you know what the answer is? Does that depend?
At least a week.
Yeah. So that's a long time to wait to hear, oh God, is there bad news, versus what kind of, you know, preventative or proactive things can I do based on the results that you found for me, Jasmine, which is accountability.
And if there is something, you know, there's a cancer center in Newport Beach with Dr. Connolly, and even like she's doing preventative work. So you don't have to have anything wrong with you to see her, but she's a breast specialist and a healer. And she's doing amazing, amazing stuff for women that have findings. And I recently had a 25-year-old patient come to me, and she had breast pain. That was her symptom. And this is the youngest patient that I've seen recently. And she went to her internist during COVID. She had a Zoom call with him, and she said, "Doc, I have really bad breast pain, and my mom is BRCA1, BRCA2 positive. She's had breast cancer." And he said, "It's stress from COVID." And she said, okay, that's fine. So she went with it. For the next 2 weeks, she couldn't sleep at night because her breasts were burning all night. And her fiance was like, "I don't think this is normal. You keep taking Advil, and there's a root cause of something going on in your breast." So she found me on Instagram. Luckily, she found me on Instagram. She sent me a message and she said, "Jasmine, my breasts are burning. I can't sleep at night, but my internist said it's from stress." I said, stress can cause a lot of funky stuff in your body, but if you have burning pain every single night, that is a big red flag for me.
Does she have implants, Jasmine?
No implants.
Okay.
She's no implants. And so she lived in Newport Beach. She drove by herself. She came in, she saw me, and I found something that was 2 millimeters. So small. And she did a biopsy, the radiologist did a biopsy, and now she's seeing Dr. Connolly in Newport, and they're doing ozone therapy.
Yay.
They put on a vegan diet. They're doing IV therapy. She's on a whole plant-based diet, everything organic. She's juicing. She's so, and you know what she told me yesterday when we had a Zoom call? She said, "God gave me this so I can change the world." So now she created a podcast about her journey. And I could give you that information.
Yes, please. Yes, please. Because that's my mission too. I got the same text message from God when I was, I was in my sauna and I was in a pool of my own sweat and silicone and then tears because I was pre-explant. I was feeling my breasts and I felt the lumps on the side of both my breasts. And I just went, did I give myself breast cancer? Am I dying? Did I live the way that I came, the mission that I came here to serve? And I said, you know what, God, if you give me the formula, I promise to lead this mission and to share that with women everywhere.
That's what she said. I'm going to definitely share her Instagram page, and I'm going to give you like all her information because she posts everything she's doing every single day, and she has podcasts about it. And she interviewed me on her podcast. And she literally says, "God gave me this so I can heal other women." And I said, "Oh my God, because you're helping me with these tools. Now I know Dr. Connolly, and I know Dr. Dennis Holmes, and all these natural people that are healing her." And she's never upset. She's never, she's 25 years old, so she's young. And the fact that she knows that this was a gift from God to heal other women is so, it just brings light to my heart and joy because she's, flipped the situation and now she's going to heal other women and guide them.
Yeah. Yeah. I believe that these struggles that we have been presented are, they're on our path for a reason. And so I tell everybody, don't waste a challenge by hiding from it and thinking you're alone. Face it and experience it fully. That's what I work with women is with the trauma aspect of all of this is that how you treat yourself through this kind of experience is how you do everything. And so if you hide and think that that no one's going to want to help you, that you're alone and you want to, if you want to vilify yourself for it and hide, then no one can help you and you can't help anybody else. So many women come to me and they're like, well, what is the point of my life? I'm like, the point of your life is to face your suffering and to sit with it and find your own path for solution. And you could empathetically help to heal other people by teaching them to see all of this as a gift and to treat themselves and to thank God for the challenges, realizing that this is a wake-up call. All of these things are wake-up calls. Oh my God, how am I have been literally dying to be beautiful. Literally, what am I doing to myself and for who and why? And so these are very empowering things. And please loop me back. I'm going to have her on the show. It sounds like she's an amazing human being.
Oh my God. You should definitely interview her. You guys, and she should read your book. And she's so knowledgeable, and she's on this beautiful journey. And I'm so thankful that she found me on Instagram. That's the future, you know?
Of course. I found you on Instagram. And our boobs are bringing us together, which is what's so great.
Bringing us together. Yes. And she always says, every time I talk to her, because she's my dear friend now, she says, thank God for social media because you saved my life. If it wasn't for social media, how would I have found you?
Absolutely.
You know?
There's a shadow and light.
Every single post that I do on my Instagram, because I don't like social media that much, I just make sure it's educational. It's very educational. I talk about how to do self-breast exams. I talk about, I even talk about brushing your breasts. Those brushes,
dry brushing,
dry brushing. And I say it's on Amazon for $5. How important it is, especially for you, to every single day, as much as you can, a couple times a week, is do the dry brushing on your breasts, get the lymph fluid moving. And then I always say, get some organic primrose oil and massage your breasts because it's good for inflammation. These are little things that can go a long way.
This is what I love about you and women who are really coming up and fighting for our freedom is that it shouldn't just be, and it's the same thing with COVID right now, is that it's like, oh, well, let's just be reactive to it and just wear a mask and, take a shot or whatever and think that we're immune. True vitality and health comes with all of these things. It's day-to-day things that we do in our routines. And so we can empower ourselves and keep ourselves as far away from it as possible versus, oh, do I have it? So it's the lifestyle of caring for ourselves and our breasts. So it sounds like you're a clinic, you offer these diagnostic tools, you offer the preventative measures. A couple questions for the end here.
Sure.
If you did, I don't know if you're working with MDs, because people, again, we're programmed to pedestalize MDs as the end all be all, right? And so I hear in some people, because when I first talked about my thermography, people were like, oh, well, that's nothing compared to and people would say, yeah, well, and mammograms saved my life. They helped me detect cancer. So with the tool that you offer here, SonoCine, does it offer, is it considered a gold standard for MDs yet? People, maybe it's insurance covered or not, but you said 50%. Is this something that people can use in replacement for based on the way Western medicine practices today? Or can you find a doctor that does consider it?
I'm going to answer this honestly.
Yeah.
Every single doctor that refers to me considers this a gold standard because you know what? I don't even want to waste my time with the Western doctors. I don't. They get paid thousands and thousands of dollars from pharmaceutical companies to go on vacation. Okay. So I don't even waste my time with them. All the doctors that have referred to me are holistic gynecologists. They're functional medicine doctors. They're osteopaths. They're acupuncturists. All amazing people. I get a lot of referrals from gynecologists. They're both Eastern and Western. Cedars-Sinai doctors refer to me, St. John's. In my office, I get a lot of referrals from gynecologists. And yes, they do consider this the gold standard. But am I going to go to UCLA Imaging Center and say, this is SonoCine? No, they're not going to want to refer me patients because they're going to lose money. And B, they want sick people. This is 2020. We have the cure for cancer. We have the cure for cancer. They're doing amazing stuff in Mexico right now at these holistic healing centers, putting people on vitamin C drips, vegan diets, exercise, clearing their trauma, and they heal. Just like the documentary Heal that I watch.
Yeah, great documentary.
Great documentary. Breast cancer, Dr. Louise Hay says it comes from trauma. It comes from anger, fear, and resentment. And I sat, my grandmother is a breast cancer survivor. Unfortunately, it was missed on the mammogram at Cedars, but finally it got detected 2 years later. And I sat her down over coffee and I said, did you live a fearful life? She said, every day I live in fear. I got kicked out of my country in 1979 in Iran with zero money in my pocket, lost all our properties. She's like, I don't forget that. And, fear, she has anger because she misses her country. She can't visit, her homeland in 40 years. She can't go back there. She has so much family there. They can't, And so all this trauma, all this negative energy is going to build up in your body, and it's going to form something. Right. Some people it's Lyme's disease, some people it's Crohn's disease, but it's all of this energy that doesn't know where to store. And for women, it stores in our breasts.
Yes.
That's just what it is. It's so close to our heart chakra. And as women, we're such emotional people. We're more emotional than men. And I read Louise Hay's book, and everything started to make sense, that breast cancers and the patients that I do, have findings, I talk to them about it. They say, oh, I just went through a divorce, my life, and that changed my whole body. Mm-hmm. So a lot, that's why I always tell women, like, check in with your mental health. Mm-hmm. You could be vegan, organic, go to Air One 3 times a day. I don't care. It's all about self-talk, how you talk to yourself, how you treat yourself. Your body's a temple. So you have to treat yourself, put your, like, number one, you are priority, and make time for self-care. And that's so important. It's not just the screenings and the mammograms and the ultrasounds. It's loving yourself. And I'm working on it every day. You're working. We all are on a journey of self-love. And I just wanted to end it on, like, wake up every day in the morning and look at yourself in the mirror and say, I love you. Just something like that. And it really changes your day. Your cells can feel it. Yeah. One negative thought, I read in this book, one negative thought, after that, the next 40,000 cells have negative energy in it.
Wow. 40,000.
Yeah. It's called Zen and the Art of Happiness, I believe.
I've heard that.
That's my favorite book. I read it a couple times a year. It changed my life. And negative thought, it's just, after all those thousands of cells have negative energy in it. So imagine how impactful it is to think positive thoughts, especially with COVID right now. Everyone's living in fear. Yeah. Yeah. Scary. Yeah. And that's what the media wants you to do. Live in fear, stay at home, and mask up. And that's not healthy. We're not supposed to be caged in our apartments. We're not.
Just like breasts are not supposed to be caged inside of these scannings that cause even more radiation, and not supposed to be caged in these super tight bras that congest our lymphatic system. And we're also not supposed to be caged with our shame emotions that, like you said, get stored here. It is the fact that you're approaching this from a holistic level. I guess I'm a narcissist because I'm falling in love with aspects of you, because you remind me a lot of my approach, and it's great. That's the light side of narcissism, where it's like, wait, we're soul sisters and we're cell sisters, and we're talking about a lot of the same things. Because if you don't address the deepest root of all of this, which is the thoughts that you think, the stories that you believe, the values that you've been shaped by, if you don't address that, then your whole tree is going to get blown over by the wind, which the wind would be viruses, the wind would be pandemics, the wind could be, the different traumatic points where people are lost. And so you have to have your own core center, and that is your thought life. And, addressing the heart chakra, addressing the things that you've contracted and built calcification. There is something called the heart wall, which we actually run in our practice. And you can see if somebody has a heart wall with excess calcification, that's what people create. They shape around their heart and say, no one's ever going to hurt me again. And they don't even realize they have it. But I always ask the question of, when you first experienced symptoms, what was going on the year prior to that? And they're like, death, suicide, someone in my family got really sick. I got really sick. I had a baby. We moved, changed jobs, some kind of a stressful event where the woman gave themselves away, where they were people pleasing and they self-abandoned. And that is usually what I find emotionally, mentally, spiritually, the birthplace of tissue trauma. And that comes in the form of all these different things we talked about today: inflammation, calcification, tissue, dense tissue, fibrocystic breast cancer. It just depends on when you can catch it. So it can happen really fast. And that's why it's really important to investigate all of this trauma. And then also xenoestrogens. It's a whole nother topic for a whole nother podcast. But xenoestrogens today, there's things that replicate toxins that look like estrogen that are plastic, parabens, phthalates, pesticides, processed foods. We're swimming in estrogen essentially, and that could trigger,
Yeah.
BRCA or not, that could trigger, dense breast tissue. So this is something that I want to do for myself. This is something that I think it sounds like once a year, SonoCine to see someone on this once a year?
Once a year.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. And then how much does it cost?
If your results are normal, it's just once a year.
Yeah.
It's $475. And then I give the patients a super bill and they'll get reimbursed 50% or more.
Awesome. No matter what insurance they have? Or is it kind of different?
No, Medicare, Medi-Cal, and Kaiser are not included.
Yeah. But every other insurance company tends
Everything
to.
else.
Awesome.
Every other insurance. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Jasmine, any final words? I think you pretty much wrapped it up. Like your words, I think, they're so beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you for doing what you do. Thank you for being a stand. It takes so much courage to do what you do with consciousness and compassion. And that's why I brought you on the show. As I just saw your social media post, I'm like, this woman is on a mission, and she's on a heart-centered mission. The heart lies between the two breasts.
Yes.
And it is very clear to me that you have a commitment to women everywhere to discover and uncover what's in our tissues so that we can be a better student, healer, and lover of our body.
Right. I don't know if you have any followers that live in New York, but I'm going to be opening an office soon there.
Hey, girl. So international.
I know. I'm going to the Big Apple soon, so I'm really excited about that.
I hope that apple is organic, though, right?
It is organic as can be.
Good. No pesticides, because that could also lead to further tissue, swelling. So.
No.
You're amazing, girl. Thank you so much for being on the show. Thank you for spreading this and spreading love instead of cancer. And I will put all the show notes below. I'm Diane Kaiser, you guys. Thank you guys for being here with us today. And if you have any questions for future shows, dianekaiser.com/ask. As always, remember to cleanse your body, heal your hormones so that you can ignite your life. Bye for now.
Amen. Bye-bye.
Thanks for tuning in to today's show. If this episode really tugged at your soul and you're ready to have your personal breakthrough, we would love to have a heart-to-heart with you to get you crystal clear on 3 things. What do you want? What's standing in your way? And how do we get you to your soul goal in the fastest time possible? Visit my site, dianekaiser.com/call to schedule your free 1-hour connection session with one of our warriors to map out exactly how you want to look, feel, and live. We've helped thousands of women warriors just like you all around the world free themselves from the symptoms and suffering they never thought possible. And you just might be our next success story. Talk soon.